But it's an expensive heaven. Just how much Ilford Park costs to run, the DHSS won't say. But the question is, how much more would it cost to place each resident in a private home?
It is true that we have some exceptional amenities here, and people might argue that it's unfair, but I would say to them that it's not right for us to drop our standards, but for others to raise theirs. After all, these people fought alongside our forces in the last war, and we do in fact owe them a great deal.
The sad fact is that nature is taking its own course. Some of the units at Ilford Park have fallen into neglect and disrepair because their residents have died. These were the bungalows on the outskirts of the park where the older families lived. They're now due for demolition. The number of Polish people needing the support of a home like Ilford Park is falling. Officially, it will remain until the last refugee from the war has gone. But that might not be feasible. At one stage, a decision may have to be taken to close it down. Death is coming more often now as the residents grow older. For one of them, the dream of returning to the Poland he left nearly 50 years ago has ended. He's taken from his little Poland for the last journey to Newton Abbot Cemetery to join over 300 of his compatriots whose dreams have ended too.
Czy na tym świecie jeszcze żyją, czy też już przeszli do wieczności za przyczyną wszystkich świętych Twoich, dostąpili z łaskawości odpuszczenia wszystkich swoich grzechów przez Chrystusa Pana naszego.
Pamiętasz kaplice nasze Poznania, wycieczki łodzią, spacery wśród skał. Tam moja miłość zakwitła gorąca, wiosną świat cały do niej się śmiał. Glazurowy gród cię czekam, tak jak dawniej dzisiaj snu, a zawołasz mnie z daleka dźwięki melodyjnych twych słów. Pamiętasz kapryty nasze Poznania, wycieczki łodzią, spacery wśród skał. Tam moja miłość zakwitła gorąca, wiosną świat cały do niej się śmiał.
For 45 years.
Since 1947, this former American military hospital at Stover near Newton Abbot has been home for up to 600 Poles who fought for Britain in the war. It's always been known as Little Poland, and despite its increasing dilapidation, was a much-loved retreat for those who never got used to living in Britain. Now, though, the Poles have moved a couple of hundred yards down the road to this £6.5 million purpose-built home. The move has distressed some of the residents, whose average age is 85. But for those looking after them, it was an inescapable decision.
It's not just Polish old people that don't want to move. My granny wouldn't want to move either. Some of them are very elderly indeed, with the average age over 80. But yes, they had to move because the old accommodation really just was not suited to their needs, and it wasn't suited to really the administration of today. The plumbing wasn't very good, the electrics weren't very good, and it was getting very dilapidated.
It's very beautiful, comfortable, cozy, warm, as you can very well feel it. Very, very nice.
Some of the residents say they've been upset by the move. They wanted to stay in the old place. What do you think of it?
It's the move. You cannot wonder. They are old. They are frail. Very often sick. Very often in pain. Anybody would be like that.
The new home has room for 100 residents, and already there's a waiting list of 20. As well as the normal rooms, there are 12 separate flats and bungalows for those residents who want to live comparatively independent lives, but in sheltered accommodation. The home has its own Polish Catholic chapel and Polish delicatessen, both very important to the residents, some of whom have forgotten how to speak English with their increasing years. The government say they've no intention of forgetting the commitment given to the Polish people who fought against Hitler.
A commitment was made by Winston Churchill at the end of the war, and I think the mere fact of building this building at a cost of some £6.5 million shows that we are serious about keeping that commitment to the Polish people, and we will continue to keep that commitment as long as there are people who qualify